I just do what I'm led to do and try to do it the best way I know how.
Do you suppose then, because I mean, people look at someone like you, ladies, you can interrupt me and tell me to shut up if you want, but people look at someone like you and they want to be you. You know, so what you see is that, you see all kinds of pastors mushrooming all over the place. People who you clearly can see this person is aping Pastor Paul, for example. What do you think of all of that? I mean, there's so much mushrooming.
The truth is I'm probably oblivious to most of that. I generally am only going to see the good and the best in people. Not that I'm not analytical, but I generally am not going to put a bad construction on most people. I'd rather magnify the good in them, and that ultimately will diminish the bad in them if there's anything such as that.
Okay, but Pastor, if we were to stretch that, for example, into the community, which we will go to, considering what you're talking about in the book, that clearly, for example, if we had leaders who were doing wrong, and we cannot call it anything other than wrong, and you were in a position to speak truth, to authority, to power. I mean, like Martin Luther King, for example.
I think that should be replicated. I think that should be duplicated. I think that should be. The Bible said the Lord gave the word, and many was the company of them that published it.
Yes.
A truth should be published on many platforms through as many media as possible, so that eventually the truth reaches a point of critical mass, and is massive enough to make a difference, to shift the weight, to shift the balance in favor of the truth.
So I've seen, for example, people who are in government, and we know they're bad, and they are leading services in church.
When you say leading services, they sit on front rows, they occupy important places in the church.
No, I've seen, for example, where they were leading prayers, and we all know that this person, not to be judgmental, this person is just not nice, and that's the nicest thing I can say about the person.
Now, let's get into it, because you're touching my passion here. As much as dealing with people one-on-one, you're trying to pastor and nurture them to become the best that they can be, and recognizing that as bad as a person may be, there's still a lot of good in them. And if you magnify the good, ultimately, through a process of time, you help to diminish the ought or the wrong or the evil in them. Nevertheless, the church has the undeniable responsibility of speaking truth to power. The Bible says that the church is the pillar and the ground of all truth. The Bible calls us the salt and the light of the earth. The significant challenge with the church today is we are a sequestered people, whereas being sequestered is not a part of our dogma or our doctrine as the truth that was once delivered to the church. The salt needs to get out of the shaker and get out onto the plate so it can flavor and savor the community around it. But when the salt has no flavor, it's good for nothing except to be trampled underneath foot. The church needs to reorient herself and take responsibility for her country, her community, and for her generation. And we have generally not done that, because the doctrine of the church in the generation that I was brought up in was simply get born again and get fire insurance to go to heaven. We were never taught, as part of the salvation package, the responsibility of not being saved only, but saving our communities, reconciling our communities, our generation, our school systems, our healthcare, our infrastructural development, our polity in the private sector, the public sector, reconciling it back to God's values. What godliness is not the ability to speak in tongues or to sing nicely or to preach a great message. What godliness is basically equity and justice, righteousness and justice, without which there will be no genuine or sovereign peace.
So how come I don't get to hear that? Oh, go.
I just want to take Pastor off on this.
Yes,
because I'm on your side. Okay.
She is.
Thank you.
She knows what I mean, because she takes me up on this all the time, and I'm glad that there's someone here who can actually speak on behalf of the church.
Because I care.
Because, I know it bothers you.
We all care, and we're looking for real solutions.
What I want to ask is this: you said that the generation in which you grew up didn't teach the church. Didn't teach us beyond just getting a fire insurance to go to heaven. Are we doing better?
I think that when I look across the flanks of the battlefield, when I look across at some of my friends like Sunday Adelaja, Tony Rapu, Wale Adefarasin, just to mention a few, they are socially responsible. Their doctrine, their speech, their practice is socially responsible. They're taking care of the orphans, the widows, the drug addicts. They're rehabilitating our area boys, just as we are also. We're proffering methods to really tackle the issue of corruption in our country, in our community. We're looking at it very, very seriously. It's in a